There is something about Abba that turned anyone into a dancing queen.
You are the dancing queen.
This Swedish music sensation dominated the 70s charts in a way that literally no one else did and would influence the pop music for decades to come. ABBA was composed of four members, which were actually two couples, and their music was lush and full of energy and emotion. You can almost hear the sparkle of their production. ABBA not only dominated the airwaves, but they even made it to the Broadway and eventually the silver screen with a successful movie franchise. Who are the members of ABBA? What made them so popular and special? Let's get to know them one by one. Agneta Holskog or Agneta, born in 1950 in Sweden, a singer, songwriter, and the blonde vocalist of the group. She wrote her first song at the age of 6 and sang at church choir. Agneta was 16 when she started singing in a dance band. A song she wrote for the band, I Was So in Love, became her first single. This 1967 debut record became a #1 hit in the Swedish chart. In 1969, Agneta became romantically involved with Björn Ulvaeus, and they got engaged in April 1970. In November, the pair staged a cabaret show together with Björn's songwriter partner Benny Andersson and his fiancée Annie Fred Lindstad. On July 6, 1971, Björn and Agneta got married. Björn Ulvaeus. Before gaining international recognition with ABBA, Björn was a member of the Swedish band known earlier as the West Bay Singers, who had an enormous following in Scandinavia. While on the road in southern Sweden, in 1966 they encountered the Hepstars, and Ulvaeus quickly became friends with the group's keyboard player, Benny Andersson. The two musicians shared a passion for songwriting and each found a composing partner in the other. Together, they composed songs to be recorded by Andersson's group. They continued teaming up for the music, helping out each other's band in the recording studios. Benny Andersson. At 10, Andersson got his own piano and taught himself to play. Influenced by Brian Jones, he left school at 15 and began to perform at youth clubs. This was when he met his first girlfriend, Christina, with whom he had 2 children. Andersson and Björn Ulvaeus became friends in June 1966, and as earlier mentioned, the two started writing songs together. He also had a fruitful songwriting collaboration with Lasse Bernhagen, with whom he wrote several songs and submitted Cage Clown for the 1969 Swedish Eurovision Song Festival finals. The song finished second place. During this contest, he met vocalist Annie Frid Lindstad, and they soon became a couple. Around the same time, his songwriting companion Ulvaeus got vocalist Agneta Folkskog. Annie Frid Lindstad, born in 1945 in Norway from Norwegian mother and German father. She grew up in Sweden. At 18 years old, she got married in 1964 and had 2 children. They divorced in 1970 and she met Benny Andersson. They were living together but didn't marry until 1978. After 2 years of marriage, they separated in 1980. She continued her solo career and became a worldwide success. She moved to Switzerland and lived as a wife to Heinrich Russo. The journey of ABBA began in the late 1960s with 2 young men, Björn and Benny, both musicians with a knack for songwriting. Realizing their musical chemistry was undeniable. On the other hand, Two extraordinary women, Agneta and Anifrid, were carving their own path in the music industry. Agneta, a talented solo artist with a voice that could melt hearts, and Anifrid, a jazz singer with an elegant sultry style. Neither of them knew then that their lives would change forever when the worlds collided with Bjorn and Benny. By early 1970, Bjorn and Benny had started writing songs together, and their partnership gaining traction. It wasn't long that they decided to bring the significant two others, Agneta and Anifrid, into the mix. At first, the four of them sang together informally, just for fun. But there was something special about the way their voices blended. It wasn't just good, it was magic. That magic turned into something more when the group entered the 1973 Sweden's Festival of Music Selection Competition. They didn't win it that year, but they came back straight in 1974 with a song called Waterloo. It wasn't just a song, it was a revolution. When Abba performed it, they brought in something the competition had never seen before. Their flashy outfits, infectious energy, and electrifying sound were a complete departure from the typical Eurovision acts of all time. They didn't just win, they stole the show, and in doing so, launched themselves in the international spotlight. The success of Waterloo was immediate and overwhelming. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know about this group. The mid-1970s saw Abba explode into a world phenomenon, with albums flying off the shelves and their songs dominated the charts even in countries that didn't speak their language. Who cared about understanding the lyrics when the music made you wanted to dance? Dancing Queen was released in 1976. It became their anthem, topping charts worldwide and earning them a permanent place in the music industry. Of course, with great success comes a great pressure. By the late 1970s, Abba was one of the most sought-after acts in the world. Their concerts sold out in minutes, and their albums broke records left and right. Being at the top wasn't almost glamorous as it seemed. Behind the scenes, the band worked tirelessly, often spending endless hours in the studio perfecting their sounds. Benny and Bjorn were meticulous songwriters. They didn't settle for anything less than perfection. That desire for excellence pushed Abba to new heights, but it also added a layer of tension to their creative process. One of the secrets to their success was their ability to reinvent themselves, their constant experimentation of new sounds and themes. It was not just their music. Their iconic fashion choices and theatrical performances made them trendsetters in every sense of the word. By the time 1980 rolled around, Abba had achieved what most artists could only dream of. They have sold millions of records, won countless awards, and left an indelible mark in the music industry. As the saying goes, what goes up must come down. The problem of the group is that they are romantically linked. At the heart of Abba are two couples, Agneta and Bjorn, Benny and Annie. Their love stories are woven into the fabric of the band, giving their music a unique and emotional depth. When they sing about love, heartbreak, and longing, it felt real because it was. Together, they are a powerhouse, but their love stories were not immune to the strains of fame. The constant demands of their careers left little room for the relationship, and the weight of their individual ambitions began to pull them in different directions. As the 1970s moved on, the pressure within the band grew more intense. The turning point came in 1979 when Agnetha and Bjorn announced their divorce. What is remarkable, however, is their decision to continue the band despite the split. 2 years later, Benny and Annie Fried follow suit, announcing their own divorce. By this point, the emotional dynamic within the band were as complex as the harmonies in their songs. Four people who had shared their lives both personally and professionally were now navigating the minefield of emotions, and yet they continued to create music together, pouring their heartaches and resilience into every note. The fascinating chapter of every ABBA story is now their personal struggles seem to fuel their creativity. Some of their most poignant songs, The Winner Takes It All, came from this period, which many fans pointed out as a reflection of Agnetha's and Bjorn's breakup. The song is hauntingly beautiful, with lyrics that cut straight to the heart. Agnetha's delivery is raw and emotional, making it one of ABBA's most iconic performances. Despite the emotional turmoil, ABBA's professionalism was unwavering. They showed up for recording sessions, performed for their fans, and maintained the united front. But behind the scenes, the dynamics were shifting. The once close friendship that forms the backbone of the band were becoming strained. It wasn't that they stopped caring for each other, far from that, but the weight of their shared history, combined with the pressures of maintaining their success, created a tension that was impossible to ignore. By the early 1980s, the cracks were starting to show in more visible ways. The band's music, while still exceptional, began to reflect a sense of weariness. Songs like One of Us and When All Is Said and Done carried a tone of finality, as if the band members were saying goodbye, not just to their fans but to each other. It is important to remember that ABBA was not just a band, they were a family. Like any family, they have their share of ups and downs. But what made their stories so compelling was the way how they channeled their experiences into the music. Their songs were not just catchy tunes, they were snapshots of their lives, capturing the highs and lows with unflinching honesty. That's what made ABBA special. They didn't just sing about love and heartbreak, they lived it. As 1982 drew to a close, the band quietly decided to take a break. It wasn't an official breakup, at least not at first. They were telling fans and media that they are pursuing new individual projects. But as the years went by, it became clear that the break was permanent. The end of ABBA was not a single dramatic moment, no explosive argument, no definitive announcement. Instead, it was a slow, inevitable, and unwavering. A band that has given everything into their music finally deciding that it was time to let it go. It was a testament of respect to each other and to their fans that they ended up the things the way they did. They didn't want to tarnish their legacy with public drama or messy headlines. Instead, they let their music speak for itself, leaving behind a body of work that remains timeless.